All right, 7 o'clock, Tuftonboro Planning Board meeting, September 20th, 2018. So we're going to actually, before we do the minutes, we're going to move down to the action item. Appointment of chairman and vice chairman. Because currently my term is expired, so we need to establish a chair. I'm not sure if that's term expired as well. So we need to take care of that first before we do the minutes.
You need a motion?
No, actually, I want, before we do that, myself, I've been doing this for a year, and I don't really think I'm qualified to do it. Having good intentions and being able to run a meeting is one thing, and not having an agenda, but you need to have, a working knowledge. You need to have the time to do the schooling that's necessary for the changes that are coming up. And with my job schedule, I work 6 days a week, and I don't have the time to put into it that's really needed. So I feel like I'm doing an injustice by doing this, and by continuing to do it, I feel like I'm just enabling it to continue on by not having someone here. This past week, there was an error on sending out notices. They should have been sent out, certified, and they were not. So the appointments that were scheduled for tonight have to be rescheduled because there wasn't. They were sent out in time, but without sending it certified mail, there's no proof that it was sent out. Having the stamp on the town's meter is not enough for it to be proof. And what Leanne made a point today that's valid is that there's really no one double checking her. And I don't know if she should be the end of the line as far as being to know all of all. I really think there has to be someone with the knowledge to be able to double check that. And I just don't I don't have the knowledge, and the biggest thing is I don't mind going to do schooling to get the knowledge. I just don't have the time to do it. But we still need a chair and we need a vice chair. And unfortunately, two of the people here, you can't be either. So that's the dilemma. So with that said,
Are you staring at Matt?
no, I'm just saying. This at anyone's comments, I guess, on it.
Let's wait for Tony's nomination. I can't see it.
I know.
No.
Well, unfortunately, there
I,
are options.
I think that you've been doing a good job for the past year. Even though you don't think you're qualified, we happen to believe that you are qualified. You have a year's experience. Plus, you've been on the planning board for how long before that?
I have been, but I mean, being on the board and going through the motions, and I guess it's the being educated and being updated. And there's many classes there to be go to. It just I don't have working 6 days. I don't have the time to get to them. So I mean, I don't. I think Leanne is correct. I mean, I should have caught that. They weren't went out certified. So I don't totally blame her for her misunderstanding the RSA that changed the language of it.
Well, stuff happens. Can't be responsible for everything.
Right. Well, no, it isn't just that. I mean, it's been a year of stumbling through through the meetings. But I don't know. I don't know if I can continue to do it for a little bit longer until we need more people on the board. I mean, there's definitely people in town that have had prior experience and all that. I mean, we can talk them into doing that and having the time to go into the schooling and stuff. So
Well, would you consider taking it under that basis that we'll continue to look for somebody, but until then, you'll stand in as the chairman.
I guess so, we need to aggressively be looking.
Well, we'll come up with some ideas, see if we can get new members on the board that would be, in your eyes, qualified to be the chairman.
Right.
Matt, you willing to be vice chairman for another year? Sure. Okay. I'll make a motion that John is chairman interimly until we find somebody who can take his place and then Matt is vice chairman.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, approval of the minutes, August 16th. I've gone through them, I didn't see anything. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. So is anyone here for the scheduled appointments? The Scott and Christine Bailey, the Clark House Family Trust, Land's End Inc., Robert and Jennifer Brennan?
Yes.
Okay,
It's Lane's End, by the way, not Land's End.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So we want to go over the rescheduling dates? I believe, did you
They may,
email
Those
or?
are confirmed.
You confirmed them
Those
all? Okay,
They may not all know what happened, so maybe we should explain.
okay. So basically, the notices for the abutters were mailed out on Leanne came in on a Sunday, did all the envelopes, stamped it through the machine on a Sunday, put them in the mailbox on our way home. Just because they were sent out 10 days prior, you have to go prove that you sent them out when they're stamped. And that's why you have to do certified mail, because there's the proof that it was actually sent out
Oh, okay.
on that date, rather than just a stamp, on the meter. Even the town hall's meter doesn't prove they went in the mailbox. So because of that, legally you can't prove that they were sent out, 10 days in advance. You don't have to receive the letter 10 days in advance. It just has to be proven to be sent out 10 days in advance. So you might not receive it until the day before, but it has to be proven that it was sent out 10 days in advance. Yes.
I'd like to comment on that. It's not appropriate to mail it on Sunday. The post office is closed on Sunday. So it should have been mailed on Saturday and postmarked Saturday and delivered in some form of a verification from the post office or certified mail.
Right.
Where the post office would stamp the date that it was mailed.
Right.
They have to go 10 days prior to the meeting, not counting the day of the meeting
Mailing,
or the day of the posting.
Right.
And Sunday doesn't count to start with because the post office is closed. So it needs to be on the Saturday is the deadline to get it out for a Thursday meeting.
Right.
Because I know you're thinking about October 4th. So going forward, that would have to, the new ones would have to go out this Saturday, not this Sunday.
Right. Yep, and they will be going out, certified mail.
Well, they should be, because that's what's in the regs.
Right. Well, the language changed, I
In the
guess.
state law, allowed verified.
Right,
but
but there isn't much.
Your regs have not changed, they
Correct.
still call for certified.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are being rescheduled. I guess we'll open up to the public if there's any other questions or comments.
I hate to be, the bad person here, but this is important stuff.
Very true.
It's really important. It costs a lot of people a lot of money
Yeah.
to have these errors. This is my third application for David Ladd. The first one, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, didn't go certified mail. Invalid hearing, had to do it over again. Then this application that I'm on tonight, when I came the first time on it, noticed public hearing, there was no quorum here. We did manage to have some discussion with an abutter and the board, and it's taken all this time to get all the issues addressed, and now we're back.
And here we are again.
And here we are again with an invalid hearing. It's crazy. People get sued over this. And if there's a suit happening here, it's going against you guys and the town. Because it's your responsibility, every one of you, to pay attention to these kind of details.
Yeah.
You can't just show up for the meeting. You guys all need schooling, not just the chairman. All of you should be going to the fall classes that the Municipal Association offers every year.
Yeah.
You have to. You
100%
cannot
agree.
possibly figure this out on your own,
Right.
especially with the small amount of applications that you've been handling because the economy's been down.
Right.
Start getting developments in here, and you're going to start getting stuff like you have on one of your hearings that was scheduled for tonight, condominium stuff.
Right.
That's a whole nother animal. There's a lot of different rules for that.
Yeah.
So,
What you think I was thinking about you today, because when I first came on this, you were here, with Rick, and I don't know if you would have, the time to be, come back on the board. Because you have, the expertise.
well,
You-
we had a lot of people on the board with land expertise. We had surveyors and engineers and
Yep. I
so
know, I
forth.
was there.
There was a wide variety of expertise.
Yeah.
But we still all went to all the training.
Right.
And we still learned while we were at it because of the stuff that kept coming at us. It was in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, everything was booming. It was
Yeah.
crazy time. So,
That we never had our meetings here. Every meeting was big enough to have at the townhouse.
right, they were all up there, yeah. It was ridiculous, so.
But
anyway.
if you would give it some thought,
I would give it some thought and I'd be willing to help. I'm not sure I'd be ready to devote the time for a regular position, but
Right.
I'm sure I could do something that might help.
anyone else?
Bob McWhorter.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to hear from Bill what the selectmen feel, maybe not tonight, but what you folks think you could do to potentially help with support to kind of get some checks and balances in place even from an administrative perspective. Because I've only been at this a few days and it's a little bit frustrating, so. At least early in, I'm seeing that maybe there's some potential for additional support, especially since nobody's at this full time, other than Jack, who has another
Right.
full-time job.
Great. I mean, some, towns, town planners.
I'm just
Right, I know.
curious what the selectmen, I don't think this situation in my eyes, not just because I have a personal stake in the outcome of one of them, but this is serious stuff. It's like
Very serious.
there's quite a few of us impacted by what appears to be maybe some administrative errors. So, and I guess I challenge the selectmen to step up and see what can be done to fix it.
But I mean, and also, for administrative, I think there should be someone that can double check her as well. You know, it shouldn't
Yeah, I don't
be,
think it's about the person at this point. It seems
Right.
like a process issue.
right, but in everything, you need to have checks and balances, and, you know, there isn't that here. You know, we just have the, you know, the going motion of it, but yeah, the checks and balances are definitely needed, for sure.
So anyway, Bill, if you can, I don't know what you can say now, it'd be nice to get some feedback from the others.
I agree. It's an issue that we need to take some additional, okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot something too.
Yeah.
Just state your name, so
Okay,
Leanne can write it down for the
David Ladd,
comments.
my
Name.
question is the problem as usual like any committees now, that people don't want to come onto committees? I spent 5 years on this planning board and was chairman, back in the 70s.
Mhm.
And we had some very dedicated, seniors that were very knowledgeable on the board. And it went through from Charlie Whitten and many I can name off that were on the board. Is it the problem is just getting people to come out and do it, or what is the major problem?
That's it. It's, you know, it's finding people that have the time, you know, not just the willingness. For me, you know, I've done this, you know, since I don't know 2007. Not just the willingness to help, but you need to have the willingness. You need to have the time available to be educated, because whatever line of business you're in, this is a whole different thing.
It really
A
is.
lot of it is a great deal of it is checklists, common sense, and you know the laws and the rules are what they are. So it's some of it. It's fairly. It isn't that bad. It's when things are constantly changing,
This is the problem.
and that's the problem. You know. So I know what I have and what I know, but once things change, and if I don't have the time
To keep abreast of
to
it
keep
all.
abreast of what's changing, then I'm doing an inadequate job, and not just in this or in any line of life or business. You know, and just for my time, you know, I work 6 days a week, and I only have Sundays, and you know, there isn't much open for education. I mean, there's some online, I'm sure I could do, but the classes and stuff like that, which would be much beneficial, which have always been, you know, the town is willing to pay. You know, we have money in our budget for, you know, education. It's just having the time, you know. So where, you know, people that you know are retired, that have, you know, some time on their hands, and the willingness to help is really what is really needed. I believe. Yes, sir.
Jim Taylor, just on that, I don't mean to change the subject, but we came up here because we're butters at Barvell Wang, and I believe it was some proposal, and could you just tell me what the issue would be? It looks like it's gonna be put off, right? Or is
That would
this a
be
different
Bailey,
one?
correct?
I'm sorry?
Across the street at Bailey. There's
Okay,
nothing at Barbell Wang, so I'm sure it's Bailey on 405 Governor Wentworth.
no, I think we got a notice that we're a butter,
Yes.
so
You're in
is
a butter, right,
It
right.
was regarding
It's a
Bailey.
Bailey project, correct?
Yeah, it was
Okay, so-
regarding Bailey.
that gonna be discussed tonight? or-
No.
Oh,
No,
No.
rescheduled
Right.
for October 4th.
Okay, could you?
Do you give any
Could you tell me
information?
just what it is, what it is?
Give them
Maybe
some
I won't have it
information.
come, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, right.
I don't think we even have I don't even have the
It's for a home.
applications because
Home occupation, isn't it?
We have him here.
Chuck knows.
It's a site plan review. He wants to run a business out of his home,
Okay,
and it's in the neighborhood business district. He just, because the stuff is gonna be outside, and it's gonna have parking area for it and stuff like that, that's what he wants to do.
oh, okay. And what kind of business is it?
He does excavation, so he has
Yeah,
some
okay,
equipment
I
that
thought
he's
it was
gonna
a heavy
park in,
equipment,
so-
yeah, okay,
And
great.
engineering.
Right.
That seems pretty benign.
Yes.
You don't have to stay.
Okay,
Jill Cromwell.
thank you.
Nice seeing all of you.
Bye.
So these are all being
Take care, Dave.
postponed till
they all have to be,
October
because
4th.
legally there was.
Oh, yeah.
Until,
Lane's End is gonna be October 18th.
okay, thank you. And we will get certified notice of that.
You will. You will.
I,
And then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just have a concern, for instance, like this person who just left, you know, they got notice of something, happening on an abutting property.
Right.
Yet because, staff for your office works part-time, and those of us get this notice, we wanna see what the application is before the hearing happens,
That's right.
not have
We need
it be
information.
accepted here tonight and have to find out and then be ready to testify the same night on it. I just don't think that's good due process. And that bothered me, and I was calling 3 different people to get information earlier this week so that I could, be informed for
Right.
this hearing. So I just would ask you to keep that all in mind also. It's like, how does this information, if the planning clerk is not here, and, who in town hall can give that information out?
Right.
And make that part of the notice that we get. Where can we get the information?
Yeah, because what is on the letters that get sent out?
Well, the town offices, they have scheduled business hours, and the applications are public record and available to all public at all times of the business hours. So feel free to come into the town hall and ask any one of the staff that works here to review the file. Mr. McWhorter did that a couple days ago, and he reviewed it with Karen.
Excuse me, John,
Yes.
are you done?
Yeah, I'm just letting her know that they're here and available. I don't take the
My
files
files
home.
didn't tell me that they
So-
were readily available.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you're correct, I did get to review the file, but Jack and I had a tentative time, he wasn't able to make it. But Karen had to go through Jack to get permission, I guess, to allow me to look at the stuff, which I appreciate. But I think Jill's point, and I experienced it, is the staff, Karen isn't set up. Nor does she know what's going on enough, other than, she got direction from Jack and it worked out. But they're not ready for a line of us to come in here and look at this stuff, unless it's laid out and send us into the room and have at it, which isn't really appropriate. I made sure that she gave me what Jack said I could take a peek at, and she was very polite and set me up in here. But it's not like there's a process set up for people to just come in and look at this stuff, so.
Because I know when you called, you wanted to look at it all, you can look at it all,
Yep.
you just can't take what's there.
Right.
Even though there's 6 or 8 copies, we require 6 or 8 copies, you can't take them all.
But I wasn't gonna go walking in where I knew it was,
Right, I know,
you know.
I just couldn't make it, I'm sorry.
I'm not, no, you and I, we just had a tentative deal and it worked out, but there's no process set up.
One second. So the process as well, it isn't just, we have a meeting, it gets approved or denied. That isn't necessarily how it works. When we have a meeting, we have to take, the application has to be deemed complete. And a lot of times, something is missing, or something has to be, so that a lot of times it's not a, one meeting, thing that happens. That happens, quite often.
But if it was,
It possibly could be, yes.
then the hearing was going to be here, and then the letter said you could have voted, all of that today, without us.
Right, it's that, right, because sometimes it does happen, some simple, easy things, happen, but, a lot of it is going through the checklist and, because basically the board can do only what the laws say we can do. We don't have, there isn't, other than adding a bush or a shrub or a fence or something like that to an application, the laws are the laws, and there isn't any variance really, from that. But sometimes things do go, simple things do go through, quickly. I'm sorry, you had a question?
Jan Sanders. I came twice to find out what this was all about, and the clerks weren't able to, whoever needed to be here wasn't here.
Mm-hmm.
And, they were very sympathetic and nice and all that, but this
You
is,
still don't get the information you need.
I'm like you, I came here just to even find out, to just look at a map and see what part of my property was part, because this is,
It just says,
this says nothing about,
it's site plan review.
yeah, and
It
it talks about a conservation, preservation, and agricultural preservation restriction. And to me, I'm thinking, well, there's some sort of conservation issue, some sort of my property's up against land trusts, or I mean that's what to me this was.
Right.
And now I'm finding out that it's it's a development of, for homes and things like that. So it puts a little bit of anxiety.
Which one is that?
Right, so you notice could have some information on it. It's a 3-lot subdivision, or, it's a site plan review for a parking lot, or
Yeah.
a basic
Change of use.
something.
Right.
Yeah, it does say 3-lot subdivision, but it also has that
Yeah,
that line
that
in there
was-
about
that line
conservation.
was confusing.
And preservation, I mean, is it,
Right.
yeah,
I don't know, did they ever send out, a copy of the application? No,
We're
ever?
not required by law to do that.
Guess what?
We are not required by law to do that. We're required to notify the abutters of the date and time.
I was gonna say, I just had an engineering firm, professionally prepare, for some permitting at one of our properties. And, they sent me a copy of the letter that they sent to the abutters, which in this case was shoreline, so they did a quarter mile in that direction, and it was a brief description of the property like that, and that was it, and it said, copies are available at DES headquarters and the town on Golden Road. But I do agree that you should be able to access that file much more easily, it shouldn't be relative.
Anytime that town hall is open, we should be able to.
Yeah, so we need to
Yeah.
put together a better procedure for them to be available. They are here, they're public records, it's just that the staff that works here every day needs to have a way to get to them, understand what's there, so that when somebody comes in, they can pull it out and take a look at it, right out on the counter. And that's, it just,
Would it be appropriate?
again, I think, as Sue said earlier, we haven't had much of this in a long time. So it's great to have a flurry of activity, and we just have to be able to
Be prepared for it.
Leanne does a good job putting all the paperwork together, making sure that the packages are there, but she's not here all the time, nor should she be here all the time. It's just a matter of having where they're accessible, staff that's here and knows where they are, and can make them available to anybody that comes in.
Right, in all these years too, we've also always, had, a crutch, where, Jack is on the board and Jack is here, a great deal of the time. So I'm sure, he's had to
But there's
answer
no
all these
reason
questions.
that somebody should have to wait for Jack to be here
Right,
to look at the records.
Years ago as well, Jackie was the secretary for, I think, the zoning and the planning board, and Jackie was there
Sure.
quite a bit and knew where that, was. So that probably helped the situation in the past.
Would it be difficult to send a copy of the application along with the abutter letter?
I'm sorry?
Would it be appropriate to send a copy of the application along with the abutter letter?
Need a paper mill.
That would be a lot.
It's a lot and it would
That's
cost
the
a
reason.
fortune.
Yeah, I didn't realize it'd be.
Could
many
scan it
days,
in
yeah.
and post it up on the web. That wouldn't be bad.
The key is to have it available. Not everybody is gonna wanna go through it, but, if anybody who's interested should be able to get to it. Just like anybody comes in and talks to somebody in the office and needs to look at the file on the property.
That's correct. That should be
Available, so it can be pulled out, and they can go through it, and if they have any questions, and the gal at the counter doesn't know the answer to the questions, there's a way to at least further the process, so that they can, when we have the hearing, be well versed and ready to address the situation.
Would it at all be practical to perhaps scan it in and put it up on the town website for the duration?
Maybe just the application, not all the supporting documents.
Oh. Didn't know that, sorry.
Definition.
Well, I think the first step would be to make it available at the front office, so that people
Right.
could, when they get the abutter letter, they could come in and review the file for their own satisfaction. That would be the first step, I think, at this point.
I think that if you say, hey, we're gonna load it to the website, you're setting yourself up for failure.
I don't know.
I think that just making sure it's available, during the business hours, you're meeting the RSA.
Well, the other thing is a lot of us work too, so maybe just scan in that, from what I saw, there's a basic application, and then it has a form that might show all the attachments, but just that first, that application, maybe get that posted up, and maybe a lot of us would go away, if we get to see that, go, oh, it's that, versus.
I would like to add, Bob, just so that everyone is aware, it specifically says on the planning board website that I do not hold office hours, but I am available upon request for meetings. And I've even included my cell phone on that website. So, I can meet anybody, night, weekends, days, I don't get the calls. People don't call me to ask to meet. And the files for a pending application that is upcoming is always on my desk, always. So, I'm all for having policy in place. I just hope that people understand the stuff is here and has been always here.
Yes.
And I have always made myself accessible by giving my personal cell phone, not work, it's a personal cell phone, to be made available.
Yeah, I
So
didn't
that's
know-
an option too.
I didn't know that, but quite frankly, it doesn't seem reasonable to have you have to be available if someone's in.
But I don't hold office hours, and I felt that was the fairest thing to do, was
But
to
anyway,
offer
just-
that.
Two of us have just suggested maybe a scan of the PDF, maybe not the whole file, but maybe just the application. You, from my observation, Leanne, you're just buried in paperwork, printing things and sending them out and all that stuff. So I don't know, how you do it and all that stuff, but the application I looked at was 4 or 5 pages, and then there's attachments, but maybe just that application. And then if it piques someone's interest, maybe, come in and look at it, and, oh gee, I can't get here during the day, whatever, make some arrangements. But I would almost bet that if that application is available, scanned in a PDF or whatever, that there might not be a line here. Wondering what's going on.
Cuts down the numbers.
I don't know. But again, I'm gonna toss it back over the selectmen's way. They're the ones that can make things happen.
Yes.
Jill Cromwell again. Leanne, I think that's commendable that you put your cell phone on the website, but when I called and left a message on town office planning board phone through the system you get when you call town hall, and it says leave a message, it did not give information of what your cell phone number would be and that you would be available. So maybe that would be something you want to put on your phone message here at town hall, if that's the way you want to go. But I think, it's probably more sensible to have anybody be able to have, know how to show us the information so that you don't have to come in every time somebody wants to see it. But I did call and leave a message, and, it was more than a day before you called back.
It was 2 days.
Yeah, so, that would be helpful if you wanted to get called on your cell phone. I didn't know to look on the website.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Max Ledoux. It's not only a good idea that anybody should be able to come in and look at the application or even, I wholeheartedly support the idea that you should be making these things available on the website electronically so that anybody can go, at midnight, nobody's gonna call in at midnight, but somebody could call up the application and look at the information. But it's not only a good idea that anybody should be able to come in here during business hours and look at the application. It's a requirement of law. It's not a good idea that a few people came up with this in this room. It's an absolute requirement. And I appreciate that the board tonight is, you've acknowledged that made a mistake with the certified letters, and mistakes do happen, and I can respect when you say, we made a mistake, we gotta do it right. this town has been very hostile to right to know. Everybody here who's in a butter has a right to know what's happening. Everybody in town has a right to know. In fact, everyone in the world, it's the people have a right to know. And that's a little weird because somebody from Czechoslovakia could call up and say, I want to see whatever, but that's the law.
Yeah.
So you got to make it happen, because otherwise there are going to be lawsuits and you're going to lose. And it's not going to be the kind of vindictive lawsuit that the selectmen filed against me when I asked for a document. And it's no different if I had come in to ask for a planning board document and you didn't want to give it to me, so you sued me. That's what the selectmen did to me. And it wasted
we're not here to discuss
$20,000.
that. We're here to.
Well, it's really important.
It's to the point.
And you
in
people
all the years
are
I've been
on a board, and it's really important. And it's not something you can just brush aside. Right to know is the law. I think you understand.
I understand it. But I will agree though, right
And
now, hold on, excuse
I
me,
will let it go.
right
Right
now,
now.
right to know is very, very important. And, you know, technically we have 5 days or some ridiculous amount of time to get back and forth. And I was trying to be as quick as I could.
Oh,
And we-
that was fine.
But right now, it looks like you're grandstanding in front of your camera. So don't, right to know is very
It
important.
was grandstanding, this guy over
Okay.
here who wasted $20,000 suing me and lost.
What, you're doing it again. This is the planning board.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do with, you know, he's
Get
on
the
the
right
planning
to
board.
know, or there are going to be lawsuits against you personally, and you're going to be held responsible.
The information was here.
It wasn't provided.
It was available. Did you get to see it when you came in, Jill?
Excuse me?
Did you see the information when you
Yes, I
came in?
did.
Did Bob see it
Yep,
when you
I
came
got
in?
it, I got it.
Okay. I'm just saying that the information is here. Some of the people here might not known how to get it. And that's not
Need to
right,
know.
but I wasn't
You
here.
need to know. You're good with it. You're good with it. This town needs to be good with it.
Yes,
I would like to comment to Matt, really. I think that it's not difficult to do the PDFs and get the plans online. The surveyors, they do all their work on the computer. They can zap out a PDF of whatever they generate, and the rest of us, you know, I can scan a certain size and convert it to a PDF, send it over, or I can go down to mailboxes or someplace.
I don't disagree that it's not difficult. And I'm sure the surveyors, the only time they hit paper is probably when, they print it out for the boards.
Right.
But it's in this town office with the staffing they have and such and so forth, it's one additional step. And I can see something going wrong and not getting posted, and then, people being upset because, page 3 of the application didn't get scanned and such and so forth, and I can see it creating issues. So I would say the most important thing at this point would be to make sure the board is meeting the requirements of the RSA and making sure the material is readily available at town hall and focusing on that. And I think certainly down the line, that's something that would happen. But I just see if that's something, in my opinion, we went forward with, we're probably gonna miss something, something's not gonna get posted, there's gonna be an error, and we end up either exposing ourselves to liability or, something just doesn't happen the way it should.
Mr. Chairman.
The town may not have the manpower to do that. Like Pat says, it
But
may
yeah,
skip.
I think the point been made, it's something that we need to
Right.
look at, absolutely. But the first thing to do is make sure that we have what we have here, that's already here, available to somebody that comes in. And
During all hours.
it's physically available, it's just having all of the staff know where it is and how to deal with it and bring it out for somebody when they want to take a look at it. Now, they're not gonna be able to answer questions for the most part, but the first step is give them the opportunity to develop the questions, and then they can come to the planning board with questions.
Right, and again, if Leanne is willing to, give up her cell phone like she is, a lot of people are looking at the plans, and if Leanne doesn't mind, they can call Leanne, and Leanne can, give them the gist of what the application is, and that will take care of 90% of the questions, as well.
I think the first steps, like you're talking about, trying to get it available here, but we all have to realize the fact that generally a good percentage of people that are butters aren't even available to come in here.
Right.
They're either seasonally gone when these are going on, or else they're seasonally only here for so many months. They need to have that knowledge. And just to get a notice like this, like mine or anybody else's, they can't come here. So the next step is to try to work towards a PDF or something that people can get information that will decrease your load and the number of people in here that are coming in and trying to, what's the problem? What are we doing? I think it really needs, it's a step that needs to be worked forward. And, the town needs to move that, all of us with the technology.
Right.
We need to move forward on this in order to keep up with the times and to make your load easier so that you don't have to sit here and they're coming in and hammering you with questions when perhaps some of this could be handled well in advance and eliminate maybe 50% or more of the people even coming in because, that's nothing I have an interest in. I get notices all the time for developments around my lands. And I look at, I know where the land is, I know about it, but I've lived in this town all my life.
Yeah.
But a person that just bought into this town or whatever and had something show up across the street, like the two that were just here and left,
Yeah.
if they had more knowledge and up front. But that's where I think the board and the town needs to work forward. And I know it's a creeping situation that needs to be done, but it needs to be done.
One of the problems is you have two opposing sides in this, and you have one side who wants
That's
more
correct.
goods and services, so to speak, from the town, and then you have another side who wants to keep the taxes low.
Yeah.
So if we add this, say we took every application and uploaded that and did that, which is not a super complicated thing to do, people do it all the time. But you add more responsibility to the people in the home, and then you have someone says, hey, we're overburdened, now we need a town planner, now we need, such and so forth. And yes, less of the things fall through the cracks, and yes, you have more things, available online, but now you have an added cost with it, and you have another step, so to speak. So it's great to think, hey, we're gonna do all these things, because I love it when I can get things online and I can go and look at an application online or, things like that. But we have to remember that when we do something like that, we're gonna have a cost associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just something to keep in mind.
Good point.
You could just have the applicant submit it by PDF.
That's
They could
required.
submit paper and they could submit PDF
Yep,
with
required.
the whole thing. So then the burden is on the applicant to provide every page.
Well, yes, if you had
Just download
a
it.
system built that could do that, and you could upload your application like they have for, I can't think of one off the top of my mind, I'm sure you guys know what I mean. That would be great, but I'm not sure that system exists. And for people who aren't technically savvy, I imagine taking my father and saying, hey, I want you to upload this application onto the website.
No, the town office would have to upload it on the website. Your father would have to take all the papers down to mailboxes and have them scan them onto a PDF, onto a little zip drive, and bring that in and hand it to them.
But they would still have to take the data and populate the website.
Right, but it would be all there.
True, it would
Just
it would be
I don't
nice.
know if would that be a legal form of an application? Because it's not,
It would be a part of, you do the traditional
Oh, I see.
written,
in addition to,
but in addition, you would submit a zip drive with
Yeah.
the whole thing on it that
Right.
could be just dumped onto the web.
Guy Pike, the selectmen have proposed, and I don't know if they've actually implemented it, hiring some part-time help to process 91A requests. I don't think the number of 91A requests has been overwhelming lately, or if they've even got to that point, but should they do such a thing, it's quite possible that that person might be able to handle some of this little bit of a load. For example, getting things onto a website and that kind of thing too. Yes, indeed, there would be an expense, but there also would be for the 91A requests as well. So it's a possibility. something the selectmen might think about.
I mean, I definitely think the expense is definitely worth it for the, people that have to travel, who don't live here full time, have to travel an hour and a half to get here, where the question could have been answered,
Well, I'm sure that the expense would certainly be less than the highway budget, for example.
Any idea, John, excuse me, about how many of these, on an average, the planning board gets in a year? So how many do you think it would be?
I just had another thought, which is just, Leanne, has anyone ever asked you to scan an application and just email it to them?
Nope. Never.
If somebody asked you that question, would you?
I could, yes.
What's your
I
phone?
could do it, I have
What's
the
your phone number?
ability. What?
What's your phone number?
You're gonna get your first request.
It's just a thought.
I have the ability, yes.
We can scan only to a certain size, obviously a big plan we can.
Right.
And we get certain applications that are small, they're actually done by homeowners, so they don't have it in that form to begin with. Surveyors and all that do, but we can only scan
Mr.
to
Chairman,
11
Yeah.
to 17.
I'm not even a member of the committee, but
Not yet.
We're starting to beat this.
Yeah.
So Bill's already committed to, I think, to go back to the selectmen and maybe come back forward. And the only comment I was gonna make earlier with Matt's was, I'd rather be talking about how to get it done versus the pitfalls of it, even though the pitfalls as you described them are something to consider, but I'd rather be discussing how we can recognize those and avoid them and move forward.
Right.
Bill's already a couple of times signed up for that, so.
Anyone else yet?
So,
You should state your name again.
Steve Hunter,
Thank you.
and I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus or step on anybody's toes, but the planning board members need to work as a team, as the planning board. It's not Leanne's whole responsibility to send something out, or the chairman to get everything put together. The team needs to work together to get all this stuff taken care of. Throughout the month, throughout the 2 weeks between meetings, whatever it might be, it's a team effort here. You don't show up and spend your hour and a half at the meeting. You gotta work all month long if you're gonna be a member of the planning board. And the cost of these delays, I think this is overshadowed in the whole discussion. The cost of a delay, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, to the applicant could be huge. I experienced that. I mean, it's huge, and I think that's the biggest issue is you're here to help when the applicant comes through the door, you're here to help him get through the process. Put your arm around him or her and work through it the best way for everybody, not to say no. Just, I mean, find the best way.
Steve, my experience on this board for the last 6 years, and we've been very accommodating to the public. In fact, as compared to other towns in this area, I would say even more so than other towns. We've been very, very accommodating. This is the first time, the years that I've been here, that we've had a mistake such as this happen. We'll try and correct it going forward. As we said, we'll make that information available, but we don't usually make mistakes like this. It just doesn't happen. And we are very accommodating to the public on the whole. And we recognize the fact that the property owners here have a right to use their property as they see fit, as long as they follow the rules and the codes. That's what it's all about. We're not here to stop development. Am I right, Bill?
Absolutely.
I think as a planning board, we do work together. If we get assignments, we work on them. I don't know what else more we can do to prevent something like this happening. I'm gonna call up Leanne and I'm gonna say, did you do your job this week? Or what am I gonna tell her?
Alright, if there's no other comments, we'll close the public discussion. So the only thing we have a couple things here. We have a pre-application talk with Justin Heatherly and tax map 55-2-8, pre-application discussion, site plan review. So what do you have?
Point of order, you haven't as part of your meeting, voted to actually delay these applications for the rest of us. Are you gonna do that tonight? I wanna make sure that if I leave here, you're not going to discuss these applications that you just said you're postponing, but you as a
Can't.
board have not
But we can't
formally said
discuss.
that in a motion or anything, or said that they're postponed to these dates. Shouldn't that be a motion that you accept? You vote on, so that we know that you're not discussing them now? And
We
that
can
they
do
are
that.
officially postponed?
We can, if that's what's necessary, I'll make a motion that we're gonna, as per the agenda, we're gonna reschedule these applications. 2 for the 4th, 3 for the 4th of October, and 1 for the 18th of October.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So
You haven't done number 2 either.
number 2, approval of minutes.
Oh, we
Do we
Yes,
do
we
that?
did,
We did that.
yes, we did.
Yeah, we do that.
We did that, Steve.
Beginning of the meeting.
Applications for the planning board on the desk outside, if anybody would like to join.
Sign on bonuses.
Thank you for your time. I know it's a tough one to do, but thank you very much.
If you come back to Florida, you're gonna be here for the 18th and the 4th.
I leave on the 19th
Okay.
For Australia.
for Australia.
Australia.
It's a year and a half coming, but I'm looking forward to it.
You gonna do New Zealand too?
Obviously wanted to try to work through this after a year and a half and get it done. But, and when I, just so the board knows, I probably will not own that land as of probably another week from now. But Sue and I are the agents and the legal, I'm sorry if I'm talking out of turn here, but the legal people, both Mr. Walker and Scott, the attorney for my person, not Matt, but Tim, the marina business. Basically, they're finishing up the last of it now, and one of the things in the purchase and sales agreement is that I have to resolve this problem because it was approved by the state in May of what we had to do to correct the lot situation. And like Jill left, but I mean, I don't think that would offend her by what, I'm just saying that we did get approval, but at the same time, now we have to be the agents, and I've been required in the legal documents to follow through to make sure that, it comes to an end before, even though he becomes the owner. So it will be coming back as agents.
We'll be ready.
Yeah, and I just, so that you don't wonder what happened in the meantime. I'm sure some people already, Matt knows this situation, other people do, so.
Company name staying the same?
It's Lanes End Marine Service and Storage LLC, as opposed to Lanes End Marina.
I just wondered if it's changed hands, if the application has to just change the name on the application. I'm not sure.
Sue, we would have to find out about that, do you know?
I will look at it.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah, right.
Right.
See, we expected that this would be the meeting.
Happened prior to it.
And, right, so it's delayed from last year, and we had to straighten out the wetland situation. That's all straightened out and done, and the hope was hopefully this would be before the closing. We wouldn't have to be dealing with, like Matt saying, to make sure that things are, all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. But again, thank you, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the 18th. Thank you now, good night.
Take care, Dave.
Justin.
Yeah, I talked to Jack about getting a permit for building a 30 by 40 building by property, and he said he'd come to get a site plan review. And which category would I fall under to build this? That's what he's got me to ask.
Right. I couldn't figure out where he fell, so I figured the board could look to see what category you wanna put this under, because
Is that, no, he's not. It's not.
MDR,
He hasn't submitted anything.
no,
And you don't live there.
right.
No.
What does he have for,
Storage.
Storage for sand, salt.
Yeah.
A couple lean-tos on it. And just to use it for equipment and some power and
Bed and breakfast?
I just wanna give them an answer that didn't fall in
Right.
the category and then come here and get thrown out and come back again with something else, so.
Looks like I stumped everybody.
So,
So is it a garage?
so what do you have on the property now? I'm sorry, I don't
It'll
remember.
be,
I have a house
the only thing I
I've
could
got-
find, only thing I could see was service retail, that's the only thing I could find that would fit under.
Well,
I don't sell to the public, they don't come up and buy anything, I was told I could put a sign out front. I have a small wing too. I just
Where
wanna
is
put a
the
30 by 40 metal building.
Behind the storage facility.
behind
Steve's.
Steve Starr's
Yeah.
facility?
Yeah, Steve, yeah.
How
It's
do
the
you,
house to the right of it and it goes around L shaped behind.
how do you access it? Is it to the right of the store? So right of the
Yeah.
store?
Both sides.
So would it be at storage buildings?
No, it's not no storage.
Just to store my stuff.
No,
Just a garage
it's a garage.
in a residential lot.
Running a business out of it.
Sort of.
Be a lot easier to live there.
I don't want,
That's why I wasn't.
We don't want me to.
Do you wanna move back?
no.
So can I be a devil's advocate here and ask the question? Did Kyle Hanson have to do a site plan review to build a garage on his?
He lives
resident?
there.
He's a contractor.
He built the garage for his cars.
Home occupation.
But did he do all that?
Did he do what?
The home occupation and the site plan review?
No, because the barn was there a long time ago. That was there before me.
No, I'm not about the garage he built this past year.
Yeah, he's not running a business. He
Actually,
parks his
Carl's
vehicles.
retired at this point.
No, he's not retired, but. No, that's a garage for his vehicle, it's all in his vehicles.
Well,
His
everything-
shop is.
Everything in Justin's is gonna be his, isn't it?
I'm just,
No, I'm
right,
I'm asking the question
Right.
too, because if it's residential, it's residential, if it's commercial, it's commercial.
correct,
Home occupation, you would have to live there.
correct.
Does home occupation specify who has to live there?
I mean,
Should be a definition.
it says home,
I don't think.
it does say
says-
under home occupation in the definition, it says,
He's gonna have garage doors.
Just one. It's not like it's my business, I keep stuff there, but my office is in Wolfboro.
it says where you live.
Everything's in
Don't say
Wolfboro.
it that way, it's just what I thought.
Home occupation does have a definition of where you live.
It does say that's weird.
And the special home occupation is the same thing, but you can use separate buildings as well as more employees.
Up to 3 or 3 or 4.
Well, it's 5 to 7 or up to 3 with.
As far as you came in, Justin.
just be a garage.
You can't, that's the kids. Something. I don't know what Jack said,
See
retail.
anything about, I don't know, Tony, I said it, Tony.
Under home occupation, it says it's incidental to the dwelling unit,
Correct.
so, but does that mean that, it doesn't say occupied dwelling
It
unit?
says home occupation.
I'm just,
I mean, go to
Read it.
special, read the one that says special home occupation.
Alright.
The only difference there is the size.
yeah,
Renting you, why can't they put anything in one?
So you think it's retail, Jack?
It's a service, I mean, it's not selling any, but it says service or,
Which I am service.
right, service landscaping, so,
I do sell, but I don't sell out of there.
right.
Service retail, is that what it said?
Well, if you go under, consumer services. It's not all of the above, it's one of those in there.
So if you live in a neighborhood business / commercial zone,
It's a site plan review. Because
if you live there, and you want, if you live there
Mhm.
and you wanna build a garage,
If you live in neighborhood business, you live in a garage, yeah,
you have to do a site plan review.
yes.
Only if the intent's gonna be commercial. You just wanna have a garage for.
Your cars,
For your cars, no, you don't.
It's like what we talked about.
It's what we're doing
here
with
lately.
Bailey's.
You could build those buildings without any permit, without any special exception, it's the use that.
Correct.
changes.
It's MDR.
Yeah.
I don't have any.
I say retail, that's what I would say.
Yeah, it's a variance.
oh, that would be a ZBA thing, then.
We don't want that.
That's why I wasn't,
CBA is very user friendly.
They turned one down here a little while ago.
Why don't we just do it
You look at the
retail?
whole picture, not just one.
Jack, why don't we just do it retail? The service.
I'm up for whatever, I just.
Jack just
I
didn't wanna-
wasn't gonna send them
I think
with
retail.
an application under one thing that was wrong, and it got changed here, that's why we have these discussions, they're allowed to come in.
The only category it seems to fit in.
Did you look at that list? See what we might fit in?
Well, I came in last
And
week.
we looked at it.
The service slash retail.
Alright, the next one is what?
It's a variance, that's what the ZBA.
Okay. Is this this is not what you're talking about?
Right, so again,
Consumer services.
Yep, okay.
Not including motor vehicle
Alright.
sales, correct.
Okay,
Alright, so you have to get a variance.
you have to go to ZBA.
So what could he do that he didn't have to go to the ZBA?
You can build a residential garage.
And be like everybody else in town, use it how you want.
What he does with it, I mean, if he wants to build a 30 by 40 residential garage, you can build a 30 by 40 residential garage. It's not the garage, it's the use.
It's the use.
So did Brian Ealer go get a ZBA?
Yes, he did. No, he did site plan because he lives there.
And he built the garage first.
And he came in for the use of it.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, they did.
I think
Swift did the same thing. Yeah, Swift's in neighborhood business, but
Right.
but he did the same thing, built it,
Yeah,
and then he
he
came
was
in.
gonna put his own equipment there, and then his stuff's not working.
So is it easier to seek forgiveness? We can't,
We can't,
then
we
ask
can't answer
permission,
that
then
question.
ask permission.
Well, in a way, it's rolling the dice to build it and then go get the variance later, because if you're gonna use it for business when you build it, and the variance is denied,
You still have a residential garage.
you got your residential garage, right?
So you're saying I can still build it as long as I use it as residential?
You
If they,
can't,
if they turn me down. So I could go build it and then go to the ZBA, like the other people did, and try and get it changed.
That would be your right. I mean, you wouldn't be allowed to use it for commercial use until you had
You'd apply for the ZBA, but
variance.
you'd have to start building it now, because the stall, back to what I said earlier, that the applicant's delay costs some money, and you'd like to have it built before winter. So if you
Would.
didn't, if you didn't,
ZBA will take about 2 weeks after the application.
right, and then you gotta schedule another month with these people.
You
So
also,
next-
if I remember right, you do not necessarily need to have the variance before you can do the site plan review. Susan probably remembers this. You can do both in conjunction at the same time. In other
That's what
words,
Maravista just
you can file both applications at the same time. go, you have a site plan review approval, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can
Right,
do
it could
it.
be contingent on
Your use is not yet permitted.
the variance
You only
given.
choose it,
Yeah, that's right. What nerves
And
me.
then, so that way you cut your time down.
So I do them both at the same time.
Tomorrow morning.
I don't think the ZBA would turn it down, so I think it's
Right.
I'm trying to think, what's the,
Well, if the abutters complain,
I'm just looking at the date for the submittal time.
What if you get it in time to beat?
Yeah, I think, I don't remember, what's the date, Leanne, for the submittal for October,
22 days prior,
so
so
it's-
18,
it's next
Oh.
Wednesday, right?
next Wednesday or something,
yeah.
So yeah,
It's
Next
always a
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah, it's next Wednesday, so
The
after the
application.
application, by next Wednesday, they hit the October 18th.
you have all your paperwork, you gotta have that in a week or so ahead or something, right? I mean, the map,
It's supposed to be as an application,
It's supposed to be part of the application.
the whole thing together.
I think you can file the application and then submit that afterwards. Is that right?
Not supposed to, it's supposed to be as a package. I mean, if you have the
No,
whole
he has
thing,
until the 26th. 22 days?
makes sense, 18
Three.
hours.
No, the
That's
22
Wednesday.
days is 25th.
That's Wednesday.
it's next Wednesday.
Oh, okay, right, sorry.
No fishing this weekend.
Anything else, Justin, you good?
No, I think it's good.
And just have to on the application, you can, we can get you an application.
I'll come in
Just have to
tomorrow.
put that section on. And
I
get you
can give you an
for
application
the
now.
variance.
Oh, okay.
I
Friday,
think I can give it to you now.
Friday
Actually,
morning,
couldn't you put that under, under,
secretary for the ZBA.
couldn't you put that under a special exception
No, I
for
didn't.
storage building, and then it doesn't have the hardship?
Storage building isn't a service.
Yeah, but it's allowed in any zone, pretty much any zone, that way you can do a special exception, there's not a hardship.
It's, well, it's, I don't know.
What do you think, call this?
Storage building isn't service though, out of the building.
He doesn't get a variance that way, he gets a special exception.
When you get to the garage.
Right, right, but it would be a special exception, not a variance.
Well, it's just whether, the difference is just gonna be. I don't think you're gonna have a problem either way. It's
Just
just,
time, just buying time.
no, it's
It's all the
just,
same length of time,
it's
just
just
got
the,
the ZBA. so.
the hardest thing on a variance is the first
The
requirement,
hardship.
which is the hardship.
That's
There has to
question
be
number
something
5.
is it number 5, inherent to the property that makes it so that, you need to do this. Like, I need to put this over here because there's wetlands over there, and that's where we're going to permit, so that's the hardest one. So if you can eliminate that by a special exception,
Make it easier.
it makes it easier.
But you don't think I'll need a special exception?
A special exception doesn't give you the use though.
Excuse me, what was the use again?
Put his equipment inside.
Equipment inside.
So how is that running a business?
Well, I own a business and I keep some equipment up there. But the business isn't out of there.
It would just be his personal stuff.
So you can't put a storage building on that. Couldn't build a barn on your property even though you haven't lived there?
You can build a barn, correct.
It's because of the use.
But if you're gonna,
In and out all the time with equipment and employees. I mean, if you lived there, it would be a home occupation, no questions asked, or a special home occupation, no questions asked. Still a site plan.
so it's like a daily in and out thing?
Right.
Or is it it's not an occasional thing?
No, it's daily, yeah.
Okay.
It might be good to get the variance over the whole property anyway.
To keep it.
If your business is
Clear.
gonna continue to grow, you don't want, don't wanna have problems down the line.
Variance for the business, and then you would need to do something beyond this. You got your options open. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah. The hardship will be the hard part. Which is why I brought up the special exception for a storage building.
What's his name, down the street? Of course, where you go, what's that landscaping company?
It's neighborhood business in that.
Oh, that's a neighborhood business?
Me, Shamrock,
Yeah,
you're talking
Right,
about.
right,
Yeah, that's
But
still
there's-
neighborhood.
There's other ones that have done it that don't live there, or did at the time when they moved out. Yeah, I'm not mentioning names.
That's very true.
I'll get the application.
Yep, me and Nancy.
I have the planning board, I don't have ZBA for you.
Secretary for ZBA's in here in the morning.
She's not here this week.
Oh, no, she's a tax collector, no, it's just-
Gotta wait till Tuesday.
I can get the application.
All right, we have two things on discussion items, we'll do the budget after. Excavation operation, like call.
Okay.
Because
Just shows you the fees.
See here?
No. He's not here.
this is the, we discussed it once
It's a
before.
pre-existing pit that hasn't been treated, so
Right.
he's looking at grandfather operation on.
You have opinion on that?
Well, it doesn't meet the requirements that we put forward. Based on the intent for, I guess, 2014 to 2016.
Does anyone suggest we have
I mean,
council
he sent
look
the
at it?
letter in, but who knows when the letter was written.
Council look at it, is that what you said?
That's what I'm throwing the suggestion out there, or is that needed?
It just, I can't see, like I said, we went through all this, we got through,
I think we're pretty accommodating to people who've been
right,
here right along, and then this is something that is quite a ways outside of the framework that we put together.
So he didn't get the letter that, like I got.
no, because he didn't have an intent for those years that we
Whatever, 2 years
stated, right,
designated or whatever.
right. I don't know.
No, it's.
That's my opinion, it's just my opinion, I mean, it's.
Now, he was given some permission already though, wasn't he, from,
I think the board of selectmen signed an intent to excavate.
This year.
I don't know. I know we.
It doesn't, I don't know whether he has an intent, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, I don't remember whether we did or not. But honestly,
I mean, the last time Mary Pickle Lang was in here, she explained all this, and she said by the selectmen signing these intents over the years was pretty much giving the applicant permission to excavate, so that's kind of grandfathering.
So if he doesn't
And
have.
when we did our, I forget, was it our ordinance or whatever, we just came up with that for the 2014, 2016. That was our way of grandfathering these ones, the ones that were continually active throughout the years, so.
Within their confines.
Correct. And that's what's grandfathered, is what's open, what's been open since 2014. You can't go beyond that without, you're still a pit, but you can't work under your envelope outside of that.
When the doors opened up, alright.
Correct.
Roll down, opened up.
It's a tough one.
Unless you submit plans.
Correct.
Yeah, start from scratch.
Correct. You don't have to go the whole new pit thing, you just have to submit plans for the expansion. Grandfathered He's grandfathered what's open.
Go as deep as you want.
So you're
According to Mary.
4 feet from water table, I think it is, right?
According to Mary, you could,
Right, yeah, 'cause you keep going down.
you stayed in that, what you
Those
had.
roads around,
I think
those,
one issue to consider
start getting
is
some granite.
was a pit at one time, hadn't been used for a number of years, now he wants to come back and.
Well, it was a lot of things.
But there are other former pits in this town that haven't, I mean, over behind where the Dearborn house was, there's a pit back there, of course, you know, it's.
Right, but that's
But-
long closed.
The Carlton's was huge.
Yeah,
There's a huge
yeah, it's a huge excavation,
deposit
right.
there.
I mean, there was sewer lagoons there, that's where DJs had sewage lagoons and it
The
was all
town
like a
did,
few
the
different
town
people.
had sewage lagoons there.
Yeah. Well, that's what he done, but yeah, so. And those were closed.
I guess my recommendation would be to have this town council look at it, because I don't know enough. We did have that person come in from the state.
Right, I mean, it's just,
It's definitely outside of what we outlined
correct.
for, you know, to allow these pits to continue to operate. I mean, on the other hand, what other use of that property is there other than a pit? But where do you draw the line?
Unfortunately, the lady from the state, what was her name?
Mary Pinkelmeyer.
I mean, you know, there was a lot of gray area. It seemed like, you know, that,
I think we used up all the gray area we could.
Right, yeah.
someone will make a motion then?
So is it, where's it going to, Roger, or?
Any motion to have the attorney look at it?
Whatever, you know,
I don't know which one, so, Roger, I guess,
Roger, until I
Yeah.
get the date of his retirement,
okay.
he's still our town council.
so I guess we also need to start looking for,
So I'm simply, just to make sure, I'm simply asking Roger to review
Review that.
The-
And based on that right there.
this letter,
Correct.
Right,
which
yeah,
is the basis of the planning board
right.
decision, okay? And just whether or not his use is if the excavation operation is grandfathered,
Correct.
correct?
Okay. I'll
Okay,
make that motion.
The other thing I think we might wanna consider if we run into more of these sand pit questions is, cause they're pretty narrow part of the law, is we might want to start talking to a sand pit attorney, you know, when we have something like that, which there actually are attorneys who do sand pits, you know, it might be more efficient use of legal dollars. Just a thought.
Well, we're gonna have to look for another attorney anyhow, right? Yeah,
yes,
unless he retired, Roger.
I don't know, he's been out of the office and I'm hoping to talk to him tomorrow. I don't know the date of his retirement.
Is he gonna retire from law or just retire from the planning board?
No, retired from the law, he's retiring.
He's only working part-time now.
you made a motion.
To refer it to Roger for his legal opinion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So this way, when it comes back, whatever he says, that's the basis that we'll look.
Right.
Alright?
Alright, so next up is the 2019 budget.
So the budget is on the table.
Yeah.
There
So
was-
for the assistant, for you, so this budgeted amount is it based on so many hours per week, and that's where that number came up?
Yeah, and in the pay and the grade, and yes. And grade.
So I guess obviously if we're thinking about doing more.
Didn't we get books?
We did,
Right.
and so that,
Are they free?
nope,
No, they buy them in December. And is that
Okay.
right?
yeah, it's at the end of
So-
the year, so
Okay,
we,
it comes into the year, so we spend this money to buy the books that we get for January, basically.
yes,
So that's why you never see any money spent out of that line until the 30-day period, you know. All right, so do we know about LRPC dues for next year?
I have not received an updated figure.
So that's an open question.
I mean, you wanna start at the top, I mean, I guess what I'm wondering is if we'd be asking Leanne to do, or Leanne or whoever,
Yeah, or whoever.
to do more work, there's gonna be more hours involved.
I don't have time.
You know, does that need to be increased?
If I can weigh in, I don't think it needs to be increased personally. I mean, if this board is gonna continue to put more responsibility on this position, the reality is that I don't have the time to do this. I haven't had the time for the past year. I've only committed to staying on board the planning board to see through the master plan process because I didn't feel right leaving the town in that predicament. So I wouldn't recommend increasing, not knowing what the future holds. And if, I don't know, that's just my opinion. I would leave it at that, however, at the 2.7, 2.8 COLA, and there could be a merit increase depending on. So, but that should be changed internally, I would think, once that was approved by the board of selectmen as well. But the baseline of the line item,
And the supplies, leave it at 500 or?
I would leave it at 500.
Cost of postage?
I mean, we're not over expending postage. I mean, we're only
And
at
the thing is, it's an
57%.
in and out of a lot of this stuff, so you have to have it up front.
Yeah, the postage, we receive postage from,
Correct.
you know, the applicants, so that's an in-out. So the surplus or the revenue
Right.
is reflected in a different budget. It's not even a budget, it's in the general fund,
Doesn't
so.
matter whether we collect or not, we have to authorize.
We
it
have to leave the
spend
money.
Because what comes back in goes into the general fund.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and based on the number of applications we've received, I mean, until we see an increase in applications, I wouldn't move that figure either.
Right.
I mean, if we start getting more and more, then next year's budget might reflect an increase, but I wouldn't increase it based on this
Right.
year's.
Right now, we have a surplus of, 3,100, a little over.
Postage. Yeah, we're only 57.3
right.
expended,
Hmm.
and we're at the end of September,
You
so
already used
that's,
3/4. It's
that's
about right.
reasonable.
well, this is as of the end of August, 9/5. Okay,
Again,
Oh,
the summer,
right.
3/4 of the year,
Right.
right on the schedule.
We're 2/3 of the way through the year and we're 3/4 of the way through the budget. But it's not typically isn't level every month. Anything.
Right.
So just leave it alone and have the selectmen do the first line.
Yeah, I'll call LRPC and get an update, see if they're gonna increase our dues, but outside of that, and I can report, or I'm not sure when the board of selectmen need this budget, but if they need it, then I would recommend the board taking a vote tonight on the, level funding, the 2019
We
budget.
don't need it immediately, so
If it can wait till October 4th, then
Sure.
we'll have those dues
Yep.
for sure by
It
then.
makes sense to have the
Okay. And I'll have,
informational put together.
okay,
Has the town began searching for somebody to replace Leanne?
No, because I haven't given my formal, that's why.
It's, I think something to be aware of is that people with her knowledge, there's probably less than a handful in town. And or in surrounding towns.
Right.
That's not going to be a particularly easy one.
That's not a stand-in
No.
position.
No.
I'm learning curve of doing it, right, sure.
Do you have anybody you would recommend, Leanne, that comes to mind?
I don't. But, I mean,
There isn't like a planning board secretary club or anything?
Facebook group.
I guess you could keep prolonging the master plan and I'll stick around. Which looks like it's gonna happen again, so.
Alright, so we're gonna wait until the 4th then to make it.
Right, so we get the LRPC and all that. Selectmen can work on line one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the assistant,
That's it?
What about, zoning changes for 2019 warrant? It's time to
Right, I don't-
change it to put on the warrant.
I don't have any proposals.
The only thing you might tweak is just the camping one.
Whatever, now's the time to start working on it rather than in December,
That's the
so.
only one I can think of.
Okay. So,
The one we were doing last
That
year.
was the camp,
Correct.
just
Yes.
number of sites and.
Yeah.
yep, campers and all those restrictions, so.
I'll put it on the next agenda. When are we going to discuss changes, administrative changes? Just curious about what happened. Like, what is the jobs, what is the board's, pleasure? Do they want me to upload applications to the website? We're gonna need to discuss this. I don't know if you wanna discuss it October 4th and think about it, or if you wanna
I'd say
talk about it
put
now.
her on the agenda for the 4th.
But I would like some direction as to how to move forward to try to find common ground between the residents and.
Can you, when these applicants are coming back in, can you ask these applicants if they have their information electronically? Just curious.
Yeah, well,
I
Jim
mean,
Rhines and
big
Norway
one, yeah.
Plainswell. Yeah, and this can be part of the bigger discussion. My concern as far as requiring an applicant to submit something via PDF is going to be those people like Tom Swift.
Correct.
Who else recently? Grote. People like that,
Bailey, there's.
smaller, people that are just off.
You have the capability here though, scanning and.
We can only
I
scan
capability
11 by
on
17.
everywhere.
That's the biggest we can scan.
7 by
11 by 17.
11 by 17.
So, again, it's just discussion item. We need to address it.
I think the immediate thing that needs to be resolved is the applications that we have is making them available, as of tomorrow. For these people who come in. So is it as simple as, the applications sit on your desk right now?
Yes.
And I imagine they have.
Any application that is coming before the board in that 22 days is always on my desk. I don't file it, it's on my desk. We just need to inform the other staff in this office.
Right, I was gonna suggest, I think the first line people come up to is usually going to be Heather and
Karen.
and then, just let it, hey, this is where it is, it sits right here, such and so forth, and then perhaps a sign on the wall saying, planning board applications are available.
Yeah.
And also, those people are not gonna be able to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Whether,
They're
yeah,
not
and
required to
they're
answer
not
that
gonna be, and if they look at it on the website, they're not gonna be able to ask questions.
That's
So
correct.
there's gonna be pros and cons to every
Right.
single thing. I just would like a discussion about it.
Yeah,
and
I guess
direction.
I'm definitely for the scanning of the applications from the website. I guess my concern would be, obviously, the entire application in the entirety cannot be scanned. I mean,
We can't scan it, but it can be sent to us
As a PDF.
as a PDF, so it can be downloaded.
Okay, so
We just can't download it if it comes in as a paper form, other than the old
Is it
PDF.
on your-
I guess my concern is if things that we can't, she can't scan And then, so now you have an incomplete application online. You know what I mean? Rather than, I think it has to be, I don't know if you can put.
Or you can just say the application is online, not the whole package.
I was gonna say,
No. Because we have condo documents for one project that's probably 50 pages.
well, I mean, the issue is somebody having the time to upload that stuff. And I
I mean,
don't, I don't know how much spare time Leanne has or the,
Yeah, and it's not just gonna be me, it's gonna be the next person and the next person.
I mean,
And
it's nice to wave the magic finger. My dad has one,
Doesn't
he waves it at stuff or thinks it's
But,
gonna
yeah.
happen, but, you know.
The application itself is normally, it's only a few pages, right?
the application itself is only one page, so
So I think, for, like, this is a busy meeting here, and we had 4. So that'd only take 95 minutes to do the
it's
busy
not,
application.
right. So basically, if you're going to, if that's what you're looking for, then you need to make it clear, and I will put it in the minutes very clear that it's only the application that gets uploaded, not the
Right.
supporting documentation for the application.
Right, I think it
Which
needs-
includes the plans, test pits, topography, abutters, authorization of agents, that's what all that
And
stuff
then,
is.
then it also has to be, when you upload it, say for complete application, please go to town hall during business hours to see the complete application. That'll cover us from posting something that's not complete.
You have to, because the next issue is the legal implication if something doesn't get posted to the website correctly. You know, if a part of it is missing or.
Right, so you have to have a disclosure in there that this is not a
Needs to
complete
have-
application.
Well, and then I can see, if I'm gonna play devil's advocate, I'm gonna see a potential issue is, when are these getting uploaded? Do we have a date? How many days prior? People are gonna say it wasn't on the website, and why wasn't it? And it's just hard, I mean, I see both sides, but
I feel like, again, I said this right from the start, we're gonna set ourselves up for failure by doing this. I think it's a great idea. I mean, I
it
would
is a
love
good
it,
idea.
but
Can I offer something? Since I'm the one in this position right now, doing this job. We heard from abutters primarily. I don't think anybody in here that spoke was not an abutter who did not receive a notice. So everybody in here, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, had an issue, but was an abutter that received the notice. The application is one page. It is far less time consuming in my opinion. And very easy to simply make a copy of that one page and put it in with the abutter notice. That's what I
That sounds
find.
good.
Yeah, that
It-
sounds good.
it's not online, which I know was a request, and I think we still should consider it, but I just don't think,
I think that's a good.
I think it's a
idea.
start.
Include it
For the
with the
immediate
letter.
It answers their question, what's it all about?
And make sure that,
And then if
that
we-
folks that are here at the town offices can put their finger on the packet in
Yeah.
case somebody
Is it
comes
gonna be
in.
done like the Thursday after the Wednesday or?
See, if it's in with the abutter notice, they receive it, it's the 10-day statutory requirement. We meet everything, plus we're satisfying the request from the public that they want more information on it. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the application is still skimpy, it doesn't provide a lot more information, but it provides for
Well, it tells them
a
what they're
little
gonna
bit
do,
more,
what it's
not
about.
much, but a little
Right,
bit.
yeah. I
But
think
that's
a
what they
good
were
idea.
asking for tonight.
Mr. Chairman, can I say something?
Sure.
I think that you can put the application in with the notice, like Leanne is suggesting. But I think if you're gonna go further than that, you need to rewrite your regs to explain what you're doing. You know, if you're gonna do the PDF stuff, fine, you can have Leanne scan whatever she can scan. And it's gonna be incomplete. You wanna write it up and get the applicant to submit a package in paper and a package in PDF. So that it's a one-click to be uploaded and it's the applicant's responsibility whether it's complete or not the office staff.
Right.
And it's 10 seconds worth of work to upload it. And that needs to be in the regs.
Correct.
You can't
Yeah, let's
just,
submit on what needs to be submitted.
yeah.
I think that would work great for, you know, whether it's White Mountain Survey or these these guys, the problem we're gonna run into is when we have someone like Justin or someone, sorry Steve, someone like Steve.
If you go to mailboxes and take the whole package, they scan it, they put it on the zip drive.
I think it's just gonna add something to it that's gonna make it, it's just gonna overwhelm them
Yeah.
with it. I mean,
It's
they're
gonna be
just,
confusing.
No, I mean, you do need to consider the burden that it places on the applicant. I mean, we've heard many times Steve saying, it's a burden, it's a burden, it's a burden. You know, increased regs, increased, so again, it's just a topic of discussion. I'm not saying yay or nay, I will do whatever I'm told to do, it's my job. I'm just saying that if we want to, meet the requests of the abutters who were present, that would address it going into the abutter notices.
I would start.
Start with the
Yeah.
Start with the
Yeah.
I would start with the letter, yes, and then if they need more information, they can come in and look at the file. And that's why I would put a notice in that envelope saying the same thing.
I will say that, you know, at work, we scan everything. I mean, every invoice, everything gets scanned, you know, we don't keep anything. And I think it's a great idea when we do that, which at some point, I mean, this is the way everything's going. We're gonna do that.
There's no question about it.
We should scan every application, you know, everything. It should be on the, I'm sure you guys have a server here and backups and all of that stuff. And then once you have that data, at some point it would be nice, it can go online and you can pull up old applications and you can pull up those things.
But like Sue mentioned, the regs are gonna have to be changed, and we're gonna have procedures in place as well.
I mean, we have to make sure whatever we do, when we go in that direction, it's done.
I think we should have a time frame and say
Well,
like
that's
within 6
changing the
months it should be
regs,
done.
so that should be done.
And that's why I think we need to discuss this further at a work session. I didn't mean to like have all the answers tonight. I don't think that we should just get rid of the whole online idea. I think we need to further explore it. But I think that there's a hard reality of a burden to not only staff, but a burden to the applicant, requiring certain things in digital format. So, but again, discussion at a work session. But we can start with at least, if it's agreement right now, to start moving forward from this point, including in the new butter notice. And then we can make further changes at a future work session.
Do we need a motion for that, or is this administrative thing?
It's just, I don't believe we need a motion,
Yeah.
it's just administrative.
In that envelope, you're gonna put, that if there's more information needed, you can review the file at the town office.
I'm gonna have to
Or no.
revise the abutter notice.
It's on
And that's another thing that we need to
It's on the
discuss
abutter
is,
notice,
I find that the abutter notice is very wordy and has stuff in it that's very confusing. Like that person, the woman said, I think Jill, I'm not sure, said about the agriculture or,
Yeah, come see.
yeah, that doesn't need to be in it. By statute, we only are required to notify the abutters of certain things. Just include it, be simple. It's way too wordy and it
And it
has
can
things.
be more
Particularly
plain
for
language,
kids,
does it have to be
application
certain,
to it.
certain language?
No language. We just no language, no. That's why, and I can present that stuff at the next work session. Well, I would recommend the 18th of October because our work session should be in 2 weeks, but we have 3 applications. And then we'll be doing the budget and we might need to address the LRPC contract. So maybe the October 18th meeting, we can have a much broader conversation about it.
Anyone have anything else?
I think we did
Motion
enough
to-
tonight. Yeah, make the motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
You received.
I don't know.